Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing fantastic. May peace and blessings be upon our Prophet Muhammad, his companions, and family. Now, as liberals, secular atheists, and such push to legalize all drugs, create safe injection sites, as more and more YouTubers make it sound so cool to legalize all drugs, and they really push for it, I want to kind of remind the young sisters who might be tempted by their non-Muslim friends or their Muslim friends who are failing at obeying Allah's command to not have intoxicants. I'm going to give you some real talk. And some of that real talk is that it is highly dangerous to use drugs, not only for your health, but because the chances of you being sexually assaulted really increase. And you have to understand that just because you're beautiful doesn't mean that once you're intoxicated and out of your mind, people are going to have some type of respect for you. They're going to have some, weakness because of your beauty, and that your beauty will have some type of way to put them down, like a magnetism, right? Some women have a very warped sense that because they are beautiful, men will take mercy upon them. Now, this is really dangerous because meth, crack, heroin, tons of different kinds of pills and such mixed with alcohol incapacitate you, and if they are high as well and you're using around them, you're tweaking, whatever you're doing, this provides them too much area to feel the whispers of the devil. Okay? You have to understand that some people use drugs and get very, very, very violent. Okay? And there's a channel called Soft White Underbelly. There's a lot of addicts who share their stories of abuse, trauma, and things that break your heart. And it's very important to watch channels like that when you have occultists, secular liberal atheists, Satanists, Luciferians, and others who make drug use sound like this sort of releasing of your energy, this romanticized, elevated freedom standard. When in reality, the founding fathers would be highly disgusted at the amount of high homeless people urinating and defecating in the street in San Francisco and in all these liberal strongholds because of how soft they've been on drug addicts, crime, and law and order, and with their campaigns to defund the police. And even though Joe Biden gave his State of the Union, where he lied and said he's for funding the police when on the campaign trail, when Black Lives Matter was rioting, he said the opposite, and Kamala Harris, her clapping and Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they all were for the defund the police movement and the squad as well. So don't be fooled by how, Joe Biden, the talking head, flips sides. The populist left is still pushing for that. It's usually a left-wing policy. Now, they romanticize other countries legalizing drugs, and this gives the illusion to young girls that it's safe to use drugs and nothing bad will happen to you, right? And I've even seen some websites that say, have someone you use drugs with, so in case you overdose, you will have somebody there. But the problem with that is you'll have someone who is just as high. And by encouraging this behavior and saying instead just don't get high, you're softening the consequences. And I want you to know that you won't be able to fight as good if you're on drugs. If someone tries to grab your throat, they snatch you by the hair, they touch your thigh, your brain it's in another realm. Your consciousness is absurd. Your critical thinking is distorted. Your memory is also distorted. Okay? And someone can lie and say you consented. There's a lot of things they can do to set you up. Some men will even be kind to you, get you high, and then they'll record you consenting, and then they'll cut off that recording and they'll invite their friend in, and then they'll harm you. I'm not going to go into details how, but I'm sure you can fill in the gaps. You have to understand, these feminist, secular, liberal atheists who are for the legalization of all drugs as female empowerment, to be able to put in your body what you want, this is highly dangerous for your spirituality, for your soul, and for your healthy womb. You want to grow healthy babies, okay? You want to have a very focused mind, and you want to preserve your honor and prevent trauma. You have to understand that drugs are a gateway for evil to spread. Only evil comes from drugs. And if you've gotten away with smoking a blunt in a car with a guy and then doing lines of coke, and you thought, well, I did it a couple times, therefore it's always going to be safe, I would tell you to be very, very wise and to know that you have to stop that behavior. It can be hard because the dopamines you get from the men and the attention and the energy, it's fun, maybe you think in your head. But one thing I know for sure, being around some gang members and talking to a lot of prisoners and people who they reformed but they're still evil in their heart, is that some men will always assault women if they can get away with it. And some of them will loosen you up with drugs. They'll smile. They'll tell you every sweet name in the book to get you to lower your guard. And when it comes time for when they want to take what they think is theirs, they'll have no pity at your tears. And if you are high on drugs, this will be something so nightmarish. You will think that your soul will want to leave your body. Okay? You will scream so loud and be in so much pain, but no knight on a shining horse will be there to save you. And if you do this activity at night and you didn't tell anyone where you were going and you went behind your parents' back, and you have really low-class Cardi B clone friends who encourage you to engage in this behavior as female empowerment, as live free, die young, all this nonsense philosophy they have, this is going to show you that they're not going to be there to help you in that moment, okay? And they can toss you out of the car, okay? And then someone else can come and grab you and have another turn. I've heard lots of trauma stories from women, and as you know, I've had trauma in my life, had a lot of violence with men in my life. And one thing I can tell you is, the movies make it look like you're going to have a rescuer, when in reality the chances of that are very, very slim. And if there are 3 men, they're usually going to take a turn with you and have their friends back more than your tears. Your beauty will be nothing but something that they use to satisfy themselves. I think there's this warped feminist perception where women will go drinking in San Francisco. Rich men, they go to a house party, a kickback, and they get totally hammered out of their mind. They get lit. They post it on Instagram with horrible Cardi B music in the background. And then once that camera turns off, the predators see. Okay? And this is what puts you in a deep mode of danger. So, I would highly encourage you to just sit down and think about all the dangers that comes from the secular, liberal, atheist, feminists ideology of consumption and rebellion and all this hatred towards male guardians, and how they encourage you to get away from the safety of your parents and to go to dangerous parties with strangers who owe you nothing. You have to remember this, is that these men owe you nothing. And you also have to remember there are women who do enjoy watching atrocities happen to other women, especially if these women have been abused themselves. They have a very fractured, perverted satanic soul, and they will feel nothing as you cry, and they won't snitch, because they're not gonna get stitches for you. You were a dumb girl, they'll think, who walked into the lion's den and got what she got, and that's your problem. This sounds cold, but I have to be a big sister and tell you the dark side of this pro-drug culture that has existed, since the 60s. But today, there is a huge market of the products that are available. And musicians and celebrities who promote it, and YouTube and other platforms allow it. And people like TJ Kump, that dude who's always on Modern Day Debate, he has a pink mohawk now. He looks like an utter clown. He said he would let his son smoke crack when he was debating a Muslim brother in a previous debate. Now, my mother was a crack addict. And Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is a crack addict. If you know people who use crack cocaine, it makes them insane. And it chemically changes their brain forever. And their high only lasts for like 5-10 minutes, and they have to smoke another rock. It is a brutal drug. A horrible drug. And women on crack in the hoods will do anything, and they won't even take a shower. They won't wash their hair. Their teeth fall out. They scratch their skin. It's not a beautiful drug. So when you have people like him who champion atheism and secularism as a high standard of human liberty, you must remember that they're offering you something worse than poison. They're offering you as this sort of feast for demons, okay? Drugs, going out with men, walking alone at night, these types of behaviors are dangerous. And this is why you can't let yourself be lured by their philosophy, by their ethics. Further, you should want to stay sober, and you should also recognize them telling you to rebel against your parents is something that can cause you immense harm. So, think about what I said. Don't get angry. Think about it. Really consider what I'm telling you, and beware of any woman or man who romanticizes drug use. Drugs destroyed my family. They snatch people every year. So many people overdose. Please, be wary. Be wise. Stay near the security of your parents. Okay? Bismillah.